right, so let's talk about everything going on with Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. A lot of news out of Arizona involving Murray, but Miles, before we get into that, why don't you break down the timeline and everything that's happened in the whole Murray situation?
That's right, Nick. And to really understand the gravity of the situation, we have to go back to the end, well, rather the beginning of last season. So let's go from the very start of last season and chronicle our way through this whole Kyler Murray saga. So last year, the Cardinals started off red hot, 7-0, 7 wins, 0 losses. They looked to be unbeatable, favorites to win the Super Bowl. The new bolstering of the offense, they looked unstoppable. Next, the Cardinals finished the regular season 11-6. What a fall from grace from going 7-0 to 11-6, barely making the wild card round of the playoffs in a very, very tough division. They still missed the playoffs. Now, talking about their playoff game, they faced the Rams in the wild card round of the playoffs. They get absolutely shellacked, 34-11, in which they were shut out in the first half of that game. This is where the fall from grace really starts to happen between the Cardinals and Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray scrubs every mention of the Arizona Cardinals off of his social media. He states that the team tried to blame him solely as the scapegoat for their horrible playoff loss, and he didn't really like that. But the team reaches out in kind to try to kind of fix things with Kyler, maybe talk about new contract, other things like that. Then that whole conversation kind of settles down a little bit, in which Kyler says, hey, we're not talking anymore. I am demanding a new contract. I need a new contract. My deadline is the NFL draft. I need a contract or else. The Cardinals don't respond to this really, and Kyler Murray pulls his contract that he submitted to the Cardinals off the table and says, that's it, I'm done. And basically now where they're at is Kyler is threatening to sit out because he has not gotten a new contract. And in my opinion, this relationship between the Cardinals and Kyler Murray has potentially become fractured beyond repair. So we have to figure out what the next step is for the Cardinals. What do you think about this, Nate?
Yeah, so I don't think there's any potential about it. I think it's beyond repair. I think the damage is done, right? You have this relation, this dynamic, and kind of Murray pulled him out of the doldrums, right? Arizona stunk in that kind of gap years between Carson Palmer and Bruce Arians. They were not good. Steve Wilkes, Josh Rosen, not good times to be a Cardinal. No. And he kind of pulled them out a little bit, and they got a whole lot better, and they've actually became one of the more contending teams in the NFL. And I mean, what do you think? One of the things I think that's so interesting about this is, remember all the injuries that Arizona had? They did have Hopkins get hurt. And I do think a lot of blame got levied on Murray that he probably thinks is unfairly. Who knows what happens behind closed doors? But this relationship is over. There's nothing.
Murray also got hurt. I think he missed 3 games.
He did, yeah.
So it's not only that they finished 11-6, but we can look. They have 3 games. They probably are out of control. He might be a little bit beat up after that, but 11-6 isn't horrible. I made it sound horrible, but 11-6 isn't bad. They did make the playoffs. The playoff game was really bad, and some people question whether Kyler Murray was trying his hardest or not. Was it like a, protect your body, move on to next year kind of game? Like, I don't think we can win. But that leads us to believe, like you said, the relationship is fractured beyond repair, and now they have to. He's probably going to get traded to a different team. That seems as if it is the only option at this point, unless they offer him some like $570 million contract. I mean, doesn't that seem like it?
They have to fire the GM and the leadership too. I think that's just not salvageable, that relationship.
So I think a really good option here is for the Cardinals to trade Kyler Murray. Yeah. And I think a really great landing spot we decided on was the Houston Texans. What do you have any thoughts about that one?
Yeah, so Houston's one of the few teams that actually have enough draft capital to get Murray. So one of the things when you're trying to trade a star quarterback, it's really, really hard because you have to find someone that has the picks that are willing, that are willing to let go of so you can get the quarterback. Houston obviously has a boatload of draft picks after the Deshaun Watson trade. They've got the money. Now they can spend it. And I think Kyler Murray would actually be on board with that trade too, because he's from Texas, right?
Yeah.
He's from the Dallas area. He grew up there, played at Texas A&M for a little bit before transferring to Oklahoma. His dad is from Texas A&M, played quarterback at Texas A&M. So he's got connections in Texas. It's kind of a little bit of a homecoming for him. Obviously, Houston's different than Dallas. But when you just look at the fit there, it just makes sense from the Arizona Cardinals perspective specifically. Because think about this. Imagine if you're Arizona, this relationship is screwed, but you ship him off to Houston and you get, let's say, the scenario we talked about, the number 3 overall pick in the draft.
Yep.
A first-round pick in 2023 and Davis Mills.
Great stopgap.
Yeah. So you got a guy who's got potential, right? Davis Mills looked pretty good in the last season. Maybe he can mold into something. Maybe he can't. But if you're Arizona, you get the number 3 overall pick. You can do what you want with that. Maybe trade back. Maybe go after an impact defensive player to replace Chandler Jones, right? And you get another draft pick for next year. So you can kind of rebuild around that trade. And it's an easy, seamless transition.
And for me, if you're the Houston Texans, you've been missing your dynamic playmaker QB who you offered a boatload of money. Well, how do you get that back? You trade for another dynamic playmaker QB. You've shown you're not afraid to pay your quarterback a boatload of money, which is probably beneficial for Kyler Murray. Yep. You offer your quarterback, maybe not quite Deshaun Watson money, but you offer him pretty good money and be like, hey, listen, we're here. We support you. We want you. And like you said, it feels as if this could be a win-win for both teams because Arizona doesn't seem like the place for Kyler right now. And Texans seems like they are looking for a quarterback just like Kyler. So I think this could be a great situation.